The investigation into the death of Officer Jennifer Sabina has been ongoing continuously since her body was discovered in the early morning hours of December 24. I have the utmost confidence in the ability of the Wauwatosa Police Department members to successfully investigate this crime.
Wauwatosa, located west of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, experiences the highest amount of snow in December compared to other months. This was observed in December 2012 as well. The Sabinas, Benjamin and Jennifer, who grew up in Wisconsin, settled in Menominee Falls and prepared for Christmas. They had known each other since childhood but only became close in their 20s. Benjamin was a former U.S. Marine while Jennifer had recently become a member of the Wauwatosa Police Department. On the morning of December 24, 2012, Jennifer was working a night shift as she had been doing throughout the month. Despite the late hour, she was exchanging text messages with her husband. The final message she received on her phone that night was around 3 a.m. An hour later, Jennifer was called in for duty but did not respond. Her colleague used the GPS on her police car and found that she was likely at the Wauwatosa Fire Station, a common spot for police officers to take breaks or do paperwork. Jennifer was found by a colleague within a short amount of time. Officer Stahl located her near the police cruiser, where she was lying on the wet pavement outside the fire station. Jennifer, also known as Officer Sabina, had suffered multiple gunshot wounds to the head. A 30-year-old police officer in Wauwatosa, was known for her caring nature and close connections with her family and faith. In a church video made 2 years before her death, her husband Benjamin shared their love story.
I used MySpace at the time. On MySpace, I found a girl that I used to go to high school on there with, and she was cute, so I sent her a little thing like, "Hey, I'm a Marine, I'm in Iraq, how you doing?" And she sent back like, "Okay, I'm good." So that didn't work, but I'm a Marine, so I kept on trying. So every day we kept on writing each other, emails back and forth, if not 2 or 3 of them a day.
In February 2005, Ben and some of his Marine colleagues were targeted by a mortar explosion. Sadly, one Marine lost his life and several others, including Ben, were injured by shrapnel. Ben endured severe wounds to his leg, particularly around the knee area, as well as his left arm, chest, and head. Against all odds, Ben miraculously survived the assault. He maintained daily contact with Jen while he was recovering in Germany. Benjamin was released from military service with honor in 2005. After getting married to Jen, they both became involved in their church and Benjamin worked on resolving the psychological problems he experienced after returning from war. He also assisted other church members in overcoming their own mental and emotional struggles. On December 24, 2012, Jennifer didn't come home after her late shift on Christmas Eve. Ben called the police station around 6:30 a.m. to check on her, and was told to come to the station right away because Jennifer had been involved in an incident. Ben hurried to the station, but at 7 a.m., investigators from the DCI started investigating the crime scene. Bullet casings from 2 different guns were found at the scene. One gun was a 9mm type, while the other gun was a .40 caliber Federal brand, which matches the ammunition issued by the Wauwatosa Police Department. It seems that Jennifer's service weapon, which was also a .40 caliber gun, was taken during the attack and is missing. The autopsy findings matched the evidence found at the crime scene. It was concluded that there were 5 gunshots, 2 from a 9mm bullet fired from behind, and 3 from Jennifer's own gun, facing the attacker. Authorities reviewed nearby cameras for any recordings that might capture the perpetrator's movements before or after the shooting. They also accessed traffic camera footage to identify any vehicles coming to or leaving the area. The snowy ground aided investigators in finding distinct footprints leading to and from the crime scene. If these footprints belonged to the murderer, they were searching for a single man who had encountered Jennifer as she left the back door of the fire station. When Ben Sabina arrived at the Wauwatosa police station, he was questioned about where he was and what he did the previous night. Ben said that Jennifer left for work at 5:15 p.m. on December 23 and he didn't leave the house until around 10 p.m. to go to Best Buy and buy a video game. He came back home right after that and didn't leave again until he spoke to the police sergeant, and went straight to the station. Ben had not received any additional information about his wife's condition over the phone, and he hadn't requested any. However, when he arrived at the station, he inquired about her well-being. The detectives then had the difficult job of informing him of the terrible news. Ben shared with them how his wife had been a constant source of support during his post-war mental challenges. Ben described the woman to the police, and they recognized her as their kind-hearted colleague Jennifer. The situation was confusing because her shooting seemed personal. There was no sign of a criminal act or struggle, indicating that she was ambushed and specifically targeted. Jennifer was well liked by her colleagues, who had gotten to know her well over the past 2 years. They asked Ben about Jennifer's mood before she left for work the previous day and requested permission to search their home for any clues about her disappearance. Ben provided a detailed account of events. Investigators, with Ben's permission, conducted an initial search of the Sabina residence later that day. During this preliminary search, 2 peculiar findings caught the attention of the DCI. They discovered 2 holes in the drywall, which seemed to have been created by someone's fist, and had traces of blood on them. At this point, the detectives at the station were being informed by Ben that he had experienced PTSD after coming back from abroad, and dealing with bouts of aggression was a part of his struggle. In fact, they had personally observed signs of this. A handgun case and ammunition that matched the casings found at the crime scene were discovered in the Sabina home. Although no weapons were found, the presence of the matching casings raised suspicions. Benjamin Sabina was subsequently arrested and his interrogation continued. On Christmas Day, detectives from the Wauwatosa Police Department started watching videos from the statewide Traffic Operations Center cameras. They specifically looked at the areas near the fire station during the time when the murder was believed to have occurred, which was around 4 a.m. the previous day. Surveillance footage from a nearby gas station recorded a black Toyota Prius with black rim tires driving towards the fire station at 1:35 a.m. Later, at 3:45 a.m., the same car was captured on video traveling back in the opposite direction. This timing and route suggests that the car may have been involved in the crime and driven from the scene towards Sabina's residence. Detectives were able to confirm their suspicions by simply looking out the window of the police station and seeing a 2012 black Toyota Prius with darkened rim tires parked in the station's parking lot. This was the same car that Ben Sabina had left there the previous day when he hurriedly entered the station to find out what had happened to his wife. Ben had informed the police that he bought the Prius to help him control his speed due to his PTSD. After finding matching casings and reviewing surveillance footage, the police received a legal warrant to search the Sabina residence and thoroughly examined the property. During the search, it was discovered that someone had cleaned a hair trap from the bathtub and thrown away the shower curtain in the garage. Agents also found dark clothing and Jennifer's .40 caliber service pistol hidden in the attic. Additionally, a 9mm handgun, which matched the casings found at the homicide scene, was found in the same area. As more evidence against him accumulated, there was a noticeable change in his demeanor. The once affectionate husband appeared to transform into a cold and unfeeling murderer. During questioning, Ben admitted to the crime, revealing that he had been following his wife for days before ambushing her outside the fire station. He claimed that he shot her when she appeared to be reaching for her own gun, and then proceeded to shoot her again with her own service weapon.
Shot her, and she went down, and I went up to take another shot, and she started getting up, and she started going for a gun, so I went for a gun, and then I shot her with the same pistol again, and then I grabbed the other one and shot her a couple more times just to make sure she was actually out.
Do you think she knew it was you?
I don't think so.
Why did you shoot her in the face with her own gun?
That was just because I wanted to make sure she was dead.
Ben shared his personal experiences with contemplating suicide. He described how he had considered ending his own life but was dissuaded by his wife, who promised to do the same if he went through with it. Ben believed that his wife's murder was a form of compassionate act. The reason I don't want to do it is because she would have committed suicide afterwards, and I don't want to handle the consequences anymore.
I wish I could have just killed myself.
Why didn't you?
Because she would have killed herself after that. I didn't want her to be in heaven, so I didn't want her to be dealing with it anymore.
Investigators were skeptical of Ben's explanation for the murder, as it did not align with the evidence. They found his claims of acting out of compassion to be implausible. However, they did find merit in his statements about being jealous of his wife and feeling angry about the attention she received from other men. It was clear that Ben was not thinking rationally and had a volatile temper. Shortly before her death, Jennifer confided in a friend and coworker about her husband Ben's recent episodes caused by his PTSD. These episodes, usually occurring at night, would result in aggressive behavior and flashbacks from his time in Iraq and Afghanistan. Jennifer was concerned about leaving him alone at home while she worked night shifts. One particularly severe flashback involved Ben holding a gun to Jennifer's head. It was revealed that Ben had served 2 tours and had nearly died during his time in the military, where he tragically lost over 50 friends and was responsible for the deaths of 68 individuals. During Benjamin's pretrial hearings, he was escorted in a wheelchair with his feet restrained and wearing a vest designed to prevent self-harm. Benjamin was accused of committing first-degree murder. The state of Wisconsin argued that Ben's ordinary human emotions led him to want to kill his wife. He explained to investigators that he felt jealous of her because of his injuries, which prevented him from continuing his military career or pursuing a career in law enforcement. The state contended that he resented Jennifer's successful career, which he could not have. He was portrayed as a possessive husband who couldn't control his anger. Defense attorney Michael Stanley focused on Ben's unusual background, which included a severe brain injury from combat and a severe case of post-traumatic stress disorder that psychiatrist Kenneth Robbins described as one of the most severe he had ever encountered. Benjamin changed his plea to not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, shifting the focus to his psychological evaluations. A psychiatrist was appointed by the judge to assess his mental state, and it was important for the state to prove his understanding of his actions. Benjamin's admission of stalking his wife, along with his attempts to cover up the crime and hide the guns, suggested premeditation. Despite initially grieving, he spent hours denying his guilt to the police. Before the trial, Ben had to face the growing evidence that suggested his guilt in the planned murder of his wife. It is challenging to argue a plea of not guilty by reason of mental illness, even in exceptional circumstances. In Ben's situation, 2 psychiatrists presented their expert opinions to the court before the trial. They both agreed that he had mental health problems, including PTSD, but they also agreed that this did not mean he couldn't distinguish right from wrong. In other words, they did not believe that a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity was appropriate.
I believe to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that the defendant, Benjamin Sabina, was not suffering from a mental disease or defect.
After half a year since his wife was killed, Ben altered his plea once more, confessing to being guilty of first-degree murder. By agreeing to this plea deal, there was a chance that he could be sentenced to a term that allowed the possibility of being granted parole during his lifetime. Jennifer's family was relieved to accept the plea deal and avoid the emotional turmoil of a trial. Under Wisconsin law, the minimum sentence is 20 years, as proposed by defense attorney Michael Stanley, while the maximum sentence entails no chance for release. Prosecutor Mark Williams, on the other hand, suggested a sentence ranging from 50 to 60 years. The judge considered it beneficial that Ben Sabina confessed, took responsibility, and saved the state from a trial. The only thing the judge had to decide was how many years Ben would have to serve before he could apply for release under extended supervision. Borowski, emphasizing that being eligible for release does not guarantee it, determined it to be 35 years. If Ben is granted parole at his first opportunity, he would be 65 years old. This is the tragic story of Jennifer and Benjamin Sabina. Do not hesitate to tell me what do you think in the comments section, and like and subscribe if you like this video. This will help my channel grow. Thank you for watching.